Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to 100 rolls of a Riven and still not getting the fucking roll you wanted. Otherwise known as a Warframe video. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. No, we're not going to try and actually get good. Who do you think I am? Some kind of intellectual person? No, today we're going to make a series. We're going to be starting a series where we dedicate to recording and cataloging every single mastery rank test. That's right, I've embodied the ideology of masochism and the yearn to want to help you as much as possible. Mastery tests. We all do them. Unless you're that one guy that likes to get through the entire game at Master Rank 0, you know who you are. Anyway, this video and sequential series of videos that we'll be doing are going to be here to cover every single mastery test in the game, cataloging them and explaining how you do them, because some of the tests are quite hard, and some people would like to have a bit of information as to how to complete them as most efficiently. And we'll be dedicating single videos for the harder tests, whereas we'll combine videos for the easier ones. Therefore, we won't have 1,000,001 videos spamming my YouTube channel, making you rather annoyed as your timeline gets filled up with individual videos on individual tests, because that would be annoying. Keep in mind, yes, some of these tests are so incredibly obvious and simple and very, very easy, but we are going to take this from an analytical process, just to make sure we don't look at this with rose-tinted glasses, thinking that we're all high and mighty and that there's no need to make an early mastery test video, because really, sometimes it's just good to have reference material for those who may not be as easily engaged with Warframe as possible, because at some point or another, there are always going to be people that need a little bit more information, even from the earliest of tests. Mastery tests are the tests you take once you've leveled enough of your gear. Each test will make an example of one trait or ideal within the game, to push your knowledge of it to the extreme, and to see if you have mastered the techniques and skills the game has been throwing at you. You can only pass one mastery test a day, so if you fail a test, you'll have to wait 24 hours before you can try it again. But you can practice these tests by going to Simaris on any of the relays, and using the corridor to the right of the entrance to trial run your tests, which I would highly recommend doing before you actually go and take it properly. Mastery Test 1. At the very start of things, Mastery Test 1 is a simple extermination test. This test will ask you to kill 3 waves of enemies using nothing but your primary weapon, within a set period of time. At this stage in the game, about 90% of you will likely still have your starter weapons, so you'll likely be using either the Mark 1 Braton or the Paris. And even unmodded, these weapons will more than easily be able to complete this test with no issue, even unmodded. So don't worry too much about being too technical or worrying about dealing enough damage. These early tests are designed in a way to merely test your fundamentals. So don't worry, they do get much harder later on, I can guarantee you that much. Wave 1 will ask you to kill 3 enemies within 1 minute. Wave 2 will be 5 enemies within 2 minutes. And the final wave, which might actually be a little bit harder, especially if you're struggling with the basic controls to Warframe. And let's face it, with how unique this game is, a fair number of you might be struggling a little bit at this stage in the game, because most people will likely get their first mastery test within the first hour or 2 of playing this game. This wave is then 8 enemies within 3 minutes. Ideally here, just focus on going for headshots, focus on trying to track them down, as the enemies will generally spawn behind the pillars, and the ideal weapon, if I could recommend here, would be definitely Paris, as it has a much higher base damage. So long as you hit the enemy square on, they're likely going to die in 1 hit. But both the Mark 1 Braton and the Mark 1 Paris are more than capable of doing this, even completely unmodded. Just don't, miss the enemy. I mean, you'd have to actually be trying to fail here. Mastery Test 2. Very similar to Mastery Test 1, except this time you are limited to your secondary. And again, taking under the idea you are using your Mark 1 weapons at this stage in the game, later would likely be the best idea here, or however I would recommend using your personal preference, because both the Mark 1 Leto and the Mark 1 Kunai are both very good at this stage. But the Leto is in fact hit scan, so it's going to be much quicker and a little bit more efficient, especially if you are lacking in the aiming department. These enemies are also now going to be averaging around level 7 mark, but again, even unmodded, your weapons should be fine for killing these guys within the time limit. The requirements are upped a bit here as well. Wave 1 requiring 8 enemies in 45 seconds. Wave 2 requiring 12 enemies in 1 minute, and then the final wave is 16 enemies within 1 minute and 15 seconds. So already at level 2, things are getting a little bit harder to test what you've learned over the process of you getting into this game. Keeping in mind at this stage you'd probably been playing this game for a day or two already, so DE are probably expecting you to have tested modding by this stage and learnt some of the base fundamentals. Test number 3, the last of the initial weapon tests, and for those who have the power of future sight, you probably already saw this one coming. But it's a 3-wave exterminate using your melee weapon! Yay! Surprises! Scarn and bow are equally good here, and again can be fine even unmodded at this stage. But following the trend of things getting incrementally harder, these enemies are now around level 13 to 15. I would advise utilizing slide and bullet jumps to get around quickest, as you are pushed for time here. Wave 1 has 5 enemies that you'll need to kill within 45 seconds. Wave 2 needs you to kill 7 enemies in 1 minute. And the final wave needing 9 enemies within 1 minute and 15 seconds. This is probably the first time you might struggle to meet the time deadline, especially if you haven't put any form of mods on. But if you utilize faster speed movements through running and bullet jumping, you should still be fine. And especially if you're then utilizing heavy attacks as well. And that's it, thankfully. There are no more direct extermination missions for a while. Now you get the tests that are slightly more interesting with a bit more of a dynamic to them. Test number 4! Okay, I lied, sorry. Although this isn't technically an extermination like the previous ones, this is where you bring all your weapons together. This is a survival where you will have to stay alive for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Entering a knockdown state will result in failure. This is where everything culminates together and it expects you to utilize some elements of early game knowledge to be able to push through this mission and survive. The enemies are now level 20 or thereabout, and are mostly infested explodey dudes. So really, realizing at the new player stage, assuming you haven't bought any of the new weapons or frames by this stage, you'll need to be utilizing your frame's abilities a little bit more here. And the recommendation, if you have him, is definitely Excalibur. However, another of my recommendations is to just keep moving. All these infested enemies are going to try and melee you, so utilize the geography to send them on a merry old chase. As a little tidbit, you can also run to the side of the map, fall off the edge, and it'll relocate you to the middle of the map. Admittedly, the only way you're going to fail here is if you get flustered and let them somehow catch you. You don't necessarily need to kill them all too much, but you can if you so choose. And that's the first 4 mastery tests. All of these will put your initial knowledge of the game to the test. And realistically, I wouldn't imagine any of them to give you too much trouble. But for the sake of recording and for the sake of reference for people that do want to know, I thought we best add all the tests also to help get that runtime to 10 minutes, if you know what I'm saying. So, if you want to see the other mastery tests be catalogued with informative guides and the like, then please do make sure you like this video, share it, all that good stuff. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment down below as to which mastery test you found the most challenging, or rather, the first mastery test that you found the most challenging. I can guarantee you there's going to be one number that comes up the most frequently, and I'm sure most of you who've done it will know that one already. So again, make sure you follow my Twitch, make sure you follow my Twitter. All links to live streaming and stuff will be below, and we hope you come and join us on Twitch sometime, as we do stream pretty much every single day over there. And we'll see you all in the next video for the next 4 mastery tests. Ta-ra!